The pizza box burned like acid against my palms as I stood in the pouring rain outside the gleaming glass tower that used to be my kingdom. Water sluiced down my neck, soaking the cheap red polo shirt with its embroidered Papa's Pies logo, the fabric clinging to my gut like a second skin of failure. 50 years old, and here I was, a ghost haunting my own past, delivering greasy slices to the very bastards who'd gutted me. The doorman eyed me with pity, or was it contempt? As he buzzed me in. I stepped into the lobby, the marble floors echoing my squelching sneakers, and that's when I saw him. Victor Hale, my former partner, laughing with a cluster of suits in the elevator bank. His hand clapped a young exec's back, that same predatory grin I'd once mistaken for camaraderie. Rage boiled up from my gut, hot and metallic, choking me. I wanted to hurl the box at his smug face, scream that he'd stolen everything. My company, my reputation, my life. But I didn't. Couldn't. Blacklisted at 50, I was invisible, a delivery drone in a world that had erased me. As the elevator doors slid shut on Victor's oblivious chuckle, I felt the fury twist into something sharper. A vow, silent and seething, that one day I'd make him pay. That night replayed in my mind like a nightmare on loop as I trudged home to my one-bedroom rental. The kind with peeling linoleum and a fridge that hummed like a dying animal. The betrayal had started innocently enough, or so I'd thought. Victor and I had built Hale Thompson Tech from a garage startup into a multimillion-dollar beast, specializing in AI-driven security software. I was the visionary, the one who'd coded the core algorithms late into the nights, fueled by black coffee and dreams of revolutionizing data protection. Victor handled the schmoozing, the deals, the boardroom battles. We'd been friends since college. Brothers, I'd called us. But resentment had festered in him, hidden behind his easy smiles. I saw the signs now in hindsight. The late-night meetings he excluded me from, the whispers with investors, the way he'd undermine my ideas in subtle jabs. "Alex is brilliant, but a bit idealistic," he'd say, his tone dripping with false affection. The knife twisted on a Tuesday morning 2 years ago. I'd walked into the office to find security waiting, their faces stone cold. "Mr. Thompson, you're terminated effective immediately," the HR drone had intoned, sliding a folder across the table. Embezzlement, they accused. Funds siphoned from R&D into offshore accounts traced to my IP address. Lies, all of it. Victor had framed me, using his access to plant the evidence, then blacklisted me across the industry with whispers of unstable and thief. My wife Sarah couldn't handle the scandal. She left 6 months later, taking our savings and the dog. Heartbreak clawed at me then, a raw wound that never scabbed over. I lay awake nights, fantasizing about storming back into that boardroom, exposing him. But doubt crept in. What if I'd missed something? Was I too trusting, too blind? Guilt gnawed. Maybe I deserved it for not seeing the snake in my garden. Now, at 50, I delivered pizzas to pay the rent, the smell of pepperoni clinging to my skin like defeat. Each shift was a gauntlet of humiliation, dodging traffic on a rusty bike, forcing smiles for tips that barely covered gas. The anger simmered, a constant undercurrent, but obsession took root in the quiet hours. I'd scroll through Victor's LinkedIn on my cracked phone, seeing his promotions, his TED Talks on ethical innovation. Resentment bloomed into dark fantasies, ruining his reputation, bankrupting him, watching him beg. But they were just thoughts, vaporous and impotent. Until that rainy Thursday when the stranger appeared. I was midway through my shift, the pizza warmer strapped to my back like a yoke, when the order came in. Extra large supreme to a dingy coffee shop on the edge of downtown. The place was a relic. Faded Formica counters, the air thick with burnt espresso and desperation. I pushed through the door, bells jingling like a mocking fanfare, and scanned for the customer. He sat in the corner booth, a gaunt man in a rumpled suit. His eyes sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Alex Thompson?" he asked, voice low and gravelly, as if afraid of eavesdroppers. I nodded, sliding the box onto the table. "That'll be $18.75. My words were rote, but something in his gaze unnerved me. a knowing glint like he saw through my facade. He didn't reach for his wallet. Instead, he leaned forward, elbows on the scarred wood. "Sit down, Alex. We need to talk." Suspicion prickled my skin. "Look, mister, I'm on the clock. Pay up or..." "You're worth $823 million, he interrupted. His tone flat, factual, like reading a weather report. The words hung in the air, absurd, a punchline to a cruel joke. Fury surged. Another scam artist preying on the down and out? But his eyes held no mockery, only urgency. I laughed, bitter and hollow. "Yeah, right. And I'm the Pope. Pay for your damn pizza." He slid a manila envelope across the table, its edges crisp against the greasy fingerprints. "Open it. Then decide." Heart pounding, I sank into the booth, the vinyl creaking under my weight. Inside were documents. Patent filings, stock certificates, legal affidavits. My name leaped out. Alexander J. Thompson, inventor of the quantum lock algorithm, the backbone of our company's success. But these showed sole ownership predating our partnership. "What the hell is this?" I whispered, my voice cracking. The stranger, Elias Crow, he introduced himself, a private investigator specializing in corporate espionage, leaned in closer, the scent of stale cigarettes wafting from his collar. "Victor Hale screwed you, Alex. But he didn't get everything. You filed those patents independently back in '98 before you brought him on. He buried them in shell companies, diluted your shares. I've traced it all. With compound interest, royalties from licensees. It's $823 million. Untouched, waiting for you to claim." Shock slammed into me like a freight train. Denial flooded first, impossible, a forgery. But the seals looked real, the legalese airtight. Then came the fury, white-hot, resurrecting every buried resentment. Victor hadn't just betrayed me. He'd stolen my legacy, my future. Heartbreak twisted anew for the years lost, the nights alone. But beneath it, a cold resolve stirred, like ice forming in my veins. This wasn't just money. It was ammunition. "Why tell me?" I demanded, my hands trembling as I shoved the papers back. "What's in it for you?" Elias shrugged, a wry smile cracking his lined face. 10% finder's fee. And I hate bastards like Hale. Saw too many in my line of work. We talked for an hour, the pizza cooling forgotten. He laid it out. Victor's web of deceit, the forged signatures, the boardroom coup. Subtle hints emerged. Victor's gambling debts, his affair with a board member's wife, vulnerabilities I could exploit. Suspense built in my chest, a slow coil of possibility. But doubt whispered, was this real or another trap? Moral conflict gnawed. Revenge meant sinking to his level, risking everything again. Yet the obsession grew, fantasies sharpening into plans. As I left the shop, envelope clutched like a lifeline, rain pattering on my hood, I felt the first flicker of power. Victor would pay. But how? The question haunted my ride home, tires hissing on wet asphalt, the city lights blurring into omens. That night sleep evaded me. I paced the cramped apartment, the envelope's contents spread across the coffee table like a war map. Anger pulsed with every heartbeat, humiliation replaying. The security escort out of the building, colleagues averting eyes. Resentment for Victor deepened. He'd played the long game, manipulating my trust. But guilt surfaced too. Had I ignored warnings? Sarah's voice echoed in memory. "He's using you, Alex." I dismissed her, too obsessed with the company. Now, alone, I grappled with the moral gray. Claiming the money was justice, but using it for vengeance. That was darker, a path that could consume me. By dawn, resolve hardened. I called Elias, voice steady despite the tremor in my gut. "How do we proceed?" His reply was crisp. "Quietly. We file claims, avoid alerting Hale. But if you want more than money..." He trailed off, leaving the implication hanging. I did. The pursuit began subtly. A lawyer's office in a nondescript strip mall, signing papers under fluorescent hum. Sensory details assaulted. The bitter taste of vending machine coffee, the scratch of pen on paper. Tension built as we waited for verifications, my mind racing with scenarios. What if Victor caught wind? Fear mingled with excitement, a cocktail of raw emotion. Weeks blurred into calculated steps. I quit the pizza gig, the manager's puzzled frown a small victory. With an advance from Elias's contacts, I rented a modest condo, the clean lines a stark contrast to my squalor. But inner conflict raged. Fantasies of confrontation warred with doubt. Was revenge worth the obsession? Guilt over potential collateral, Victor's family, innocent employees, pricked like thorns. Then the first hint of action, an anonymous tip to a journalist about Hale Thompson's shady dealings. Not enough to topple, just a ripple. I watched from afar, heart pounding, as Victor's social media showed strain. Forced smiles at galas, vague posts about challenges. Suspense mounted, quiet and insidious. He didn't know it yet, but the noose was tightening. One evening, as I sipped whiskey in my new solitude, the phone rang. Sarah's number. Alex. I heard. About the money. Her voice, soft with regret, cracked something in me. Heartbreak resurfaced, layered with resentment. Why now? I asked, suppressing rage. I was wrong to leave. Victor. He convinced me you were guilty. Manipulation revealed. Another betrayal. We talked haltingly, tension thick, secrets spilling. She'd suspected but feared the fallout. Suppressed rage boiled. Victor's web extended further than I'd known. As we hung up, a plan crystallized. Use her as an insider, but doubt lingered. Was I manipulating too? The slow burn intensified. Subtle moves. Buying shares under aliases, whispering to investors. Built like storm clouds. Elias warned. Patience, Alex. Rush and you'll lose. But obsession gripped. Dreams vivid with Victor's downfall. Moral gray deepened. Justice or vengeance? The line blurred. Finally the claim cleared. $823 million deposited. A digital fortune. Power surged, cold and intoxicating. But as I stared at the balance on my screen, fear hit. What if this destroyed me? Resolve 1. The retaliation was coming, undeniable. The boardroom smelled of polished oak and desperation, the air conditioner humming a low dirge as Victor Hale paced before the floor-to-ceiling windows. I'd orchestrated this moment meticulously, my heart a drum of cold resolve laced with guilt. Through shell companies, I'd amassed controlling shares in Hale Thompson. Now just Hale Tech, my name scrubbed like a stain. The buyout was anonymous until today. The reveal timed for maximum impact. Elias had fed me intel. Victor's debts mounting. His marriage crumbling under the affair's exposure. My anonymous leaks at work. Suspense had built over months. Subtle hints in falling stock prices. Regulatory whispers. Now, as I stepped through the doors flanked by lawyers, the shock on his face was visceral. Eyes widening, color draining like blood from a wound. Alex, he stammered, voice cracking like thin ice. The board members shifted uneasily. Their ties suddenly too tight. What the hell? Sit down, Victor, I said, my tone even, belying the fury churning inside. The words tasted like ash, layered with years of resentment. I took the head chair, my old spot, the leather creaking under me like a throne reclaimed. He collapsed into a seat, hands trembling on the table. This is impossible. You can't. I can, I interrupted, sliding the portfolio across. Patents, shares, the full audit trail. You stole it all. But you missed the originals. $823 million worth. The room fell silent, save for the distant traffic hum below. Victor's eyes darted, calculating, the manipulator unmasked. Alex, listen. It was business. You were holding us back. Too cautious, too ethical. His defense rang hollow, revealing the moral rot I'd suspected. Guilt flickered in his gaze, brief but real. Perhaps regret for our friendship's corpse. Dialogue sharpened the tension. Business. I echoed, voice rising despite my resolve. You framed me, destroyed my life. Sarah left because of your lies. Heartbreak surged, authentic and raw, fueling the obsession I'd wrestled with. He leaned forward, desperation etching lines on his face. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I had no choice. Hidden motives spilled, a gambling addiction, mob ties pressuring him. Layered complexity emerged. He wasn't a cartoon villain, but a man drowning in his own greed, betraying to survive. But sympathy warred with rage. Inner thoughts raced. Forgive and walk away rich. Or push, risk moral abyss. Cold resolve won. No choice. You always had one. I signaled the lawyers. Projections lit the screen. Evidence of his embezzlement, now turned against him. Suspense peaked as security entered, mirroring my own firing. Victor's pleas turned to threats. You'll regret this, Alex. I have friends. Fear prickled. His connections real, but obsession drowned it. As they escorted him out, his shoulders slumped, the mighty fallen. Poetic justice tasted sweet, yet hollow. Outside, rain pattered again, cinematic in its timing. Elias waited in the lobby, nodding approval. Clean sweep. Company's yours. But doubt lingered. Had I become him? The pursuit's toll. Sleepless nights planning, moral conflicts eroding my soul. Sarah called that evening, voice tentative. You did it. But are you okay? We met at a park bench, autumn leaves crunching underfoot, the air crisp with unspoken regrets. I thought revenge would heal, I confessed, vulnerability cracking my facade. But it's just empty. Her hand on mine stirred old heartbreak. Maybe it's not about him. It's about us. Subtle foreshadowing hit. Had my obsession blinded me to redemption? Yet the twist loomed. Days later, as I settled into the CEO office, an envelope arrived. Anonymous like mine had been. Inside, photos of Elias with Victor, dated pre-betrayal. Bank transfers linking them. Shock jolted. Elias wasn't a savior. He was Victor's plant, luring me back to expose the patents, then steal the fortune through a rigged claim. Fury reignited, layered with humiliation. I'd been played again, my revenge a trap. Inner conflict exploded. Guilt for my grey choices, resentment at my naivety. But resolve shifted. This wasn't over. I confronted Elias in a shadowed alley, rain slicking the pavement, gun in my pocket, a morally grey escalation. Why? I demanded, voice hoarse. He smirked, unrepentant. Victor needed the patents liquidated. You were the key. The $823 million. It's wired to us now. Suspense crested as I drew the weapon, heart pounding. But doubt halted me, kill and I'm lost. Instead I recorded it all. Hidden app capturing his confession. You'll rot, I said, turning away. The payoff. Police sirens wailed as I walked free, evidence handed over. Victor and Elias arrested, the fortune recovered. Plus damages. But the twist's impact lingered. Sarah at my side, revealing she'd suspected Elias, her return a quiet alliance. In the end, revenge's consequences were psychological. Obsession purged, but scars remained. I sold the company, donated half, started anew. Justice poetic and unexpected in letting go. The rain stopped, sunlight breaking through. A film's fade to hope amid the gray.